second place car in LMP2, so that is critical there, that he gets going quickly. The car behind him is a minute and 10 behind, so he should be okay. Well, I say that, he's still parked there.
But of course he can't see round the corner, so he doesn't know when there's a gap in the traffic.
No, and it's this is a tricky situation for him.
Just going to have to go for it. Here we go, Karan. We're on board.
Yeah, it's Thierry here, and as you say, he touched the inside curb. I think the rear right just touched the inside curb and lost the back end. Oh no, he's past the curb. Actually, you're right. He started to pick the power up. So yeah, just as he started to pick up the power, obviously not enough TC, or the TC not working well enough there, and it's gone wrong for him.
Duncan is still outside the LMP1 number 10 Dragon Speed garage. And Duncan, you've got some news.
Yeah, the team very graciously come up and gave me the information first, which is lovely of them. He had an off, as you guys are aware of, at turn 1, and it's turned the floor, it's removed a bit of the floor, and in doing that, it popped the alternator belt off. So that's what they're working on right now. That's
a real shame, and also for the team, they've got Renger van der Zenders. They're sort of #1 pro, really. He's he's been hired by the team to not make the mistake and try and almost help Henrik Hedman. Their program is very much geared around Henrik Hedman, and getting him up to speed. And I'm sure Elton Julian and the team will be a little bit frustrated with that.
We also saw Jimmy Bruni go off there with the 956 liveried Porsche in practice the other day. He went off backwards and then it wouldn't get started, it wouldn't get going. Found out the reason why it wouldn't get going, because it went backwards at 150 hell of a lot miles an hour. The rear wheels went the other way and it turned the engine the wrong way. Thanks for coming. Had to put another lump in. So yeah, that cost them, and they're limited on the amount of engines for this WEC Super Season. It is, remember, 1.5 points for this race, 38 points available for the victor here at Le Mans tomorrow afternoon come 3 o'clock, 27 for second, 23 for third position. Everybody gets a point if they get to the finish. Used to be double points, that's been taken away. The winners of this race last year then went on to win the World Endurance Championship come the end of the season in Bahrain. Change of driver. Thierry gets out. Nico Lapierre gets in.
That's such a shame then, because it must have been his in-lap that he lost it on, because I don't know if they planned it in such a way, but Nicholas was standing there with his helmet on, wasn't it? So it was a clear sign that they were expecting him sometime soon.
Could have been. Maybe the tyres got flat spotted at that point if they were changing them, and it was one stint away from changing driver.
Yep.
The chances are your driver's in the pits ready to go anyway, so.
Yep, no, fair point. And yeah, so Lapierre is going to head back out. So where is this going to put them here, Toby? Because they're now 4th, aren't they? They've dropped behind the IDEC car. This is Clearwater coming down the inside of somebody whose headlights are... it's a Project 1 car. That's the
Bumblebee
German
livery.
Is that... Oh, yeah. I now see it. I didn't understand what you were talking about earlier. You mentioned them earlier, and I had no idea who you were talking about. But now I vaguely see
We've now got 2 animals for you, Karen.
Have you seen or heard his obsession with this flying pig? Or what is it, the pink pig?
Well, it's called the pink pig. That's what the Germans called it.
Well, Toby has mentioned it about 2,000 times in our broadcast.
It just seems that way. It just seems that way. But Lena, let me explain. When we had the first driver change, I thought, oh, we'll be able to tell which driver's going in because it'll have the name down the side of his helmet. But no, I've only now discovered that all 3 of those Porsche drivers with the pink Porsche have got the same overalls and the same pink helmet. So you can't ID them until they plug the plug in.
Oh.
Not very helpful for commentators, but you know what? It's still cool, isn't it?
Well,
no?
Yeah.
She's not a fan. She's not a fan.
I'm in the Lena camp here. She's joined our non-pink pig camp.
Let me go with it this way. I understand the whole concept behind, 70 years and everything, but it didn't need to look like that.
Okay. Well, you're not. Okay. You don't want to look at my last tweet then.
Oh, and Toby's obsessed with it.
Well,
I need to go get you a pink pig T-shirt or something, don't I? There's got to be one out in the merchandise. I think when I have my next break and we get McNish here, I might go hunting for a T-shirt for you.
I couldn't possibly comment. Right then, back with the action. The Toyotas are 1-2. It is still the number 8 Toyota that leads this motor race overall. full 3.5 seconds ahead of its sister car. This is GTE Pro. That is Patrick Pilet in front of us. Michael Christensen is 2 minutes ahead in the lead. So this is second that we're looking at. That Porsche getting a little bit squirrely. And we are on board with Martin Tomczyk, the German, who is now in third position.
Yeah, so Pilet's got ahead. Somewhere, the cameras have missed it, but Pilet has managed to get up into second place ahead of Tomczyk. And they're now a full 2 minutes behind the number 92 car. So that gap, which had come down to about 1:38, and it was chipping away, wasn't it? It peaked at 1:51, came down to 1:38, and it's now sort of snuck back up to 2 minutes. So I don't know if it was because Pilet and Tomczyk were battling and therefore holding each other up a little bit that Christensen's edged away. But the leading GTE Pro car has, I mean, he gained massively, obviously, when the safety car came out. And you know, as soon as you gained effectively on the safety car, it's a third of a lap, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's pulled a minute, and and he's built on that. He built on that, and he had a good cushion. But they're doing a very good job up in that 92 car.
Lena, things have moved around in your life since we last saw you. What are your plans for the future? What do you think you might do? Are you still in love with endurance racing, car racing? Do you think you're going to be involved?
I don't really know. I'm taking a bit of a break for a while. Probably the next month or so, I'm going to be doing nothing.
Good for you.
A couple of weeks at home in England with my family, and then a couple of weeks in Galapagos, just because I can.
Good for you. You've earned it.
And then I'll see where I want to go, what I want to do, where I want to be based. I haven't made any choices and decisions yet.
You're just enjoying the weekend, enjoying the sunset as the shadows lengthen.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the 10-year anniversary since, as an assistant engineer with Howden Haynes, I won this race with Alan, Tom and Dindo. So that's one of the reasons why we're here. Unfortunately, Dindo isn't with us. We've only got Alan and Tom. But it's still quite nice seeing them all again and kind of going over that. It was a really historic win.
It was.
Toby reminded Alan it's been 20 years since his first win. I'm not sure Alan
appreciated it.
I'm not sure he was so keen on that stat. the 69 car is going to touch.
They're going to touch. They just about get away with it. How close was that? Between, was that Ryan Briscoe in there? I think it was, and Antonio Garcia. How close can it get? Another cigarette paper.
So it was the
BMW goes in, pushed the Ford a little bit wide. He ran out of road. There wasn't quite contact, but blimey, the UN needed to be brought in there for a moment for international relations, as we're back on board with the number 69, Ryan Briscoe, going into the sunset. Now the shadows lengthen, and now these guys are going to be squinting. You've still, of course, got a full face helmet. You've got the visor there. You can just bring it down a little bit, Karun.
Yeah, it's the bigger problem is actually sunrise in some ways as well, because it comes up, you know, so sharp in your face as you're heading into, I think it's into Indianapolis. It's where it hits you in the face. Am I mixing up? I'm mixing up sunset and sunrise, aren't I? Yeah.
East and west never changes.
Never mind. I'm going to keep quiet at this point. Yeah, no, it is tricky, and you know, these drivers, they all actually still use full face helmets, despite the fact they've got windscreens and they're sitting in closed cars, and they can try and adjust it on the the visor, and they've got a bit of tape on the sort of sun strip of the visor. They adjust it, but it is tricky. It is tricky because it's okay, I think, if you've been in the car for a long time and your eyes have adjusted gradually, but let's say someone who's not been in the car for the last 2 or 3 hours and they've suddenly got in, and the first lap out, the sun hits you in the face, and it is sunsetting to Indianapolis. It's coming back to me now.
So Garcia's got ahead. Sorry, Karun. Garcia's managed to get ahead here after that bit of a moment on the back section. Tony Verlander, the only Finn in this race, is on the tail of that duo. He's in that red and white AF Corsa Ferrari, sharing with Giovinazzi and Pipo Derani. There they are, 7th, 8th and 9th position in class as they come towards the end of another lap for those guys, and for them it's lap number 85 that they are completing. The TF Sport Aston Martin is right in front of them. That's the Salih Yuluk, the Turk, who is in that car at the moment.
See, still the name that rolls off your tongue the best. Salik Yuluk, I like that.
Salik Yuluk, should I say? Yeah. Who's got the quickest name? That's the next question, you know. Antonio Giovinazzi, you know, he should have been a pre-war Alfa Romeo, thrashing around the banking at Monza or something or other.
Yeah.
It sounds fast.
See Ollie Gavin getting warmed up and stretched in the back of the Corvette garage, so clearly he's going to be getting in there. His 18th Le Mans, Oliver Gavin, so he knows this place like the back of his hand, and still so quick, isn't he? He's still, you know, so motivated, so quick, and he loves the battle that takes place here in that GTE class every year. He's been with Corvette for a long time now and races with them in America a lot, as well as all over the world with WEC. And yeah, very good driver.
Been with Corvette since 2002. Got Tommy Milner in the car with him, and also Marcel Fassler 3 times. The outright winner of the Le Mans 24 hours. So then, time ticks along. I haven't mentioned LMP2 for a while whilst we were looking at these guys. It's the 26 orange G-Drive car, Roman Rusinov at the helm at the moment, that leads in LMP2 ahead of the Paris-Barthez competition car. And third is the IDEX Sport, number 48, the car that took pole position in the LMP2 category.
And that G-Drive car is a pit stop and 57 seconds, so the best part of 2 minutes probably ahead of second place, so still going very well there in the lead.
Lena, great to see you. Thank you for popping in.
No problem.
And good to catch up with you. We've had some great racing. We've had a bit of drama and action, as these guys have shown us as they come over the hill down towards the Forest S's. Enjoy the race.
I will.
Don't try and engineer it too much. I'm sure that you won't. Get your calculator out, just leave them be, and catch up with good friends. Great to see you.
Thank you.
Lena Gade, ladies and gentlemen, who has taken the time to pop down to the commentary box that now has the sunshine in our eyes, or at least my eyes, as I look towards the television screen as we ride on board with the number 7 Toyota. Kamui Kobayashi, he is just 0.4 of a second behind the leader of this race in the number 8, the sister car.
Yeah, actually one of the most annoying things when the sun goes down are those bugs on the windscreen. We are in the forest, you know, there's a lot of countryside as you're going around the back, and you can see here, look there, when the sun's coming through. And I remember from last year when you had all that rubbish on the windscreen, they have got tear-offs and they can't clean it in the pit stops and stuff. But it is very difficult at that point to really be able to see clearly.
One of the things I remember commentating with Alan Winish last year, we talked about this, and he said, yes, but on the run down to Mulsanne, you know you're going to hit bugs at one particular point. And I thought, how do you know you're going to hit bugs? He says, there's a golf club down there, and there's a little pool of water, and all the midges congregate around the pool. And you can almost feel the clatter of the bugs, because there's always a cloud of bugs at this time of night. That's Le Mans experience for you.
Yes, yeah, he knows his way around here. There's Alan, he's obviously done a few.
He's done a few.
Few more than Kazuki Nakajima, who's in the lead of this race. He's got his countryman Kamui Kobayashi sitting behind him, 1.8 seconds behind. So it's all going quite calmly at Toyota at the moment. Everyone seems pretty in control. I popped into their motorhome, Toby, and it was all nervous tension because they recognize it's theirs to lose, but pretty calm. It all seemed quite calm in that last hour ago when I popped in.
Japanese cars, 1 and 2. 2 Japanese drivers at the wheel at the moment. No pressure for one of the biggest things in Japan to try and win the Le Mans 24 hours. Currently, it's only Mazda who have taken the outright victory on behalf of Japan. Only one Japanese victory with the Mazda 787, the rotary car. Bertrand Gachot, Johnny Herbert and Volker Wielder, who drove that car. Johnny Herbert never went to the podium. He was absolutely banjaxed. He did a mega stint, boiling hot, got out the car, collapsed in a heap, missed the podium. So some 20 years later, they got the car back here to Le Mans, took it round the circuit, which of course sounded just glorious. He still fitted into his original overalls, believe it or not.
I do not believe it.
Well, it was a good story anyway. He got out of the car and then he went to the podium just for fun.
Oh, that's good for Johnny, though. You know, Johnny's one of motor racing's nice guys, and he's worked extremely hard to achieve what he's achieved after his injuries and accidents, and it's it's always nice to hear a story like that. Just a quick one, sorry, Toby, was notice the number 37 car, the Malaysians have snuck back onto page 1, which is good news for them in the LMP2 class, so they're up into 23rd overall, which is, and still with good pace. Jasmine Jafar, last time round, the fastest LMP2 car on track. So, yeah, it's been a good little day for them.
The other thing about the Mazda, it was a Dunlop outright victory. I was involved with some Dunlop people at the time, and they were completely caught unawares. They didn't have any, remember it was pre-digital 1991, they didn't have any newspaper advertising booked for the Monday morning, just as a sort of a fail-safe. We'll just half book a page just in case we win. They thought we've got no chance of winning. No adverts in the paper the next day, but hey, they've got their name in the record books. Julian Porter, welcome back. Lena Gade has disappeared off into the sunset.
There is that sunset.
And there is that sunset.
I wrote that down on a piece of paper for Toby about 15 minutes ago. Low sun's coming. You just see it coming. But yeah, I mean, I got a big shoes to fill with Lena now leaving this seat and me arriving. So but it's great listening to what she knows and all that kind of stuff.
But when you were in that car, you can see the low sun on the run into Indianapolis. It makes it so difficult to see that apex curve as the fast right now. You're in top gear in a prototype. You're in 6th gear, and you just come off throttle. You don't really hit the brakes because the car has so much drag when you come off the gas that it slows down. And you just roll the speed in there. Soft hands, got to keep the car to the right-hand side and brake for the left. And that's a helicopter shot. We're seeing the sun, sort of facing towards the cars coming. It is such a challenge, especially when you've got the bugs on the windscreen.
Something else that you were all talking about, I think it was actually just before Lena came in, I'm not sure, but white headlights, you were saying that you had no idea kind of like what was going on. And I always remember growing up on the GT cars had yellow headlights, and the P1 cars, P2 cars had white headlights. But we all seem to have white headlights now. Now, Martin Haber believes that came in last year. But, I mean...
I think the AM cars...
Some have still got them. But
no, but this is an AM car we're looking at here. Yeah, it's got white lights. So I think they did a partial switch. Because I remember in the race last year, some cars still had yellow. And I think they were the AM cars.
Yes,
so
that's correct.
I think maybe this year they've done this.
And now they've gone to 17 cars, sorry. We're in 2018 now, aren't we?
Here we are.
So now they're a year old. They'd be last year's cars, which would have had white headlights.
With the LEDs and that spec, so
I mean, that's a small change to make, frankly, if they need to switch from white to yellow. So I think it's more regulatory-wise they've decided, for whatever reason, and I don't think that's actually a very good idea, in the sense that, I mean, I haven't driven a GT car around here, but when you were in a prototype and you looked in your mirror and you saw white lights, if you were in a P2 car, you normally thought, well, either he's a P1 car, in which case he's going to come past me pretty quickly, but at least you were aware. And if you were in a, if it was another P2 car, then you were probably racing him for position. And the yellow one was, well, he's a GT car who's
not a problem for you.
Yeah, he's not going to catch us. Yeah. So it actually made it quite good that you could see what was behind you, and I think it's a little bit tricky now.
But you've already passed them. Round and round we go. So yeah, it's probably a bit harder for us commentators to see what's coming towards us, isn't it?
This is a battle for position in AM, isn't it? Paul Dellalana in the Aston Martin, and JMW Motorsport. Remember, they won the AM category last year. I don't think they've retained any of the same drivers from when I was doing my research. I think a completely different driver lineup this year from last year.
Liam Griffin, Cooper McNeil, Jeff Segal. Correct. They're all different because Segal and McNeil, I think, were with Townsend Bell last year. They got on the podium, but they didn't win it.
So
Project
One, let's talk about this, the Bumblebee livery, as you like to call it. That's a new team. They've never done sports car racing before. And actually, the people involved with the team are the guys who are running my iSport GP2 program. Richard Selwyn is the chief engineer. Gavin Jones is the man on the wall. And they were my race engineers when Bruno Senna and I were teammates at GP2, and they're here doing their... Gavin has never ever been to Le Mans before, and Richard came here as a fan about 20 years ago, so I saw them for a coffee yesterday, and they were really excited. They got a whole new team of people. I think the name might have been around, but it's an entire new crew of people running that car.
Yes and no. It was the Tolimit squad who used to run in Porsche Super Cup.
But I mean at Le Mans.
Le Mans, yeah.
What I'm trying to say is they've run in Super Cup and stuff, but they've never done sports car racing. And, you know, Super Cup race is 40 minutes and you're done.
Yeah, true.
So, you know, we were having a lot of conversations about strategy and when you'd paid and safety cars and how does a 3 safety car work and all this sort of stuff. And it's really nice to see them running in second place. So that they're having a good race in GTEM.
That's Jörg Bergmeister, Patrick Lindsay and Guido Perfetti. Lindsay and Perfetti having their first Le Mans race. Jörg Bergmeister, former Daytona 24-hour winner and Porsche Super Cup winner. He's won his class at Le Mans before. He is the safe pair of hands, to say the least, in that car. The black and yellow Porsche. There it goes, underneath our camera, underneath the bridge, and into Arnage.
We haven't mentioned the Manor cars for a little while, have we? You know,
no.
And they are still running. Charlie Robertson in 16th at the moment, and Oliver Turvey in 20th place.
So we now come into the sunset again. We are riding on board with the number 7 Toyota. There's the leader of this race right in front of us, just getting past the Fischer-Keller car, as I call it. Is it? Was it? It's gone. It's that quick. As the Toyota unleashes some 900, maybe even 1,000 horsepower with the engine and the electric motors. 4-wheel drive, remember, for the LMP1 Toyota. The only 4-wheel drive cars in this race. We ride on board with Nakajima.
This gap is really fluctuating. When I looked a while ago, it was much bigger than 0.69, 61 of a second. You know what I mean? It is coming back to, as Kroon said, very, very early on, like 5, 6, 7, 8. And they kind of like, now, we're a bit into it. Let's just kind of manage this. Let's slipstream each other around and things like that.
So then, let's get the next measure as they come over the line. It'll be just about the same. It was 0.99. It is now 1.1 seconds. There's nothing between them as we are now just past 25% through this race. It's just gone 9 o'clock.
Yeah, and they're driving to a set strategy. They're driving to a set pace. They've discussed every possible eventuality. Alex Wirtz was saying to me a couple of weeks ago, he says, you know, he says, we've had a seminar almost about team radio and communications. He says we are covering every single possible base that there is to cover to the nth degree.
They've also put the car out at Aragon and these private tests that they have with 3 wheels on it to see how far it would go before it wore through the under tray, before it wore something else. The word was they put it out with a rim, not a tyre, to just sort of see how far it would go, what it would do to the diff. Would it screw up the diff? Would it tighten this up? Would it tighten that up? Also, something that rallying boys used to do, particularly Connor, you know, learn what the mechanics of the car was. If you are stuck out at Indianapolis and you need to literally get stuck in, understand the structure of the car. Okay, throw that off. At least it'll get me back to the pits, because just like rallying, get it back to the pits.
But actually, that every single team in the pit lane does. We used to have a Sunday morning briefing about, and I think I mentioned this for those of you who weren't listening earlier on. I mentioned before, we had all sorts of things in the car: toolkit, a long radio lead, a mobile phone, a bit of money to get a marshal to help you out. You know, you had all sorts of bits and pieces. And part of that was you'd have a little workshop with the chief mechanic, and he'd take you around the car and say, you know, if you've had a drive shaft failure, this is how you use a bit of lock wire and lock the diff. If you've had this bodywork fall off, here's all the clips, this is how you undo it quickly, just leave it out there and come back. And, you know, we'd have a proper little workshop on just lessons you needed to do. And even electronically, you know, did you make changes to different maps and different things just to try and help get you home if you've had a fuel pressure problem, for example, and things like that. So yeah, it's something all the teams do.
Just quickly on that subject, Julian, before you jump in, had a message from Richard Bradley, who won LMP2 here a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, and he said, yeah, he was listening to what you were saying earlier about the phone and the wire and the cables and whatever. He said, yeah, the best brick on the planet that could stand the vibration was those original Nokias and all those, because it wouldn't shake itself to bits in the car.
Yeah, in 2012, the year Peter and I were teammates, the one thing they didn't test was what would happen if they left the phone on in the car. And the entire race, I remember, you know, you get that noise. That noise.
Is that what you had in your ears?
The entire race, it went on and on and on. And all I wanted to do was find that toolkit and throw the phone out. But you never know when you might have needed it.
Julian.
No, I was just going to say, obviously, the Signatech Alpine is now up into second, just pure and simply because the IDEC Sport car came into the pits. But that was the car that we saw spinning a few minutes ago. And just watching these two in GG Pro, the Porsche followed by the BMW. Now that is going to be, I didn't quite see the numbers, but it's got to be second and third in the category. There it is, the duel is up.
Second and third indeed, Julian, as they come over the crest towards us. The Patrick Pilet car is in front of us now. We ride on board with DTM star Martin Tomczyk, the tall German, 0.9 of a second back of the Porsche in front of him. In front of Pilet's Porsche is Michael Christensen, over 2 minutes ahead in the number 92 car.
I think for people just coming back from work or whatever, that lead was through the safety car, because it was tenths of seconds between them all for ages, and it was through the safety car that he managed to stretch out a massive lead.
We had a couple of safety cars. One was because one of the Jackie Chan LMP2 cars had an enormous puncture at the beginning of the Mulsanne straight, shattered all the wheel arch and the bodywork, and they had to really tidy it up. And another safety car was
Dominic Kreinhammer had his huge accident, the LMP1 car. And what happens with these safety cars here at Le Mans, because it's such a long track, I'll just quickly explain to people who haven't seen it before and maybe don't fully understand how it works. But with 3 safety cars, they get released at different parts. Now, critically, what happens is if you pit at that point, you then end up waiting at the end of the pit lane for the next safety car. So actually pitting on the safety car can cost you a third of a lap, because you have to wait for the next one. If you don't pit, but say, for example, you've been picked up by one safety car, and then your immediate rivals get caught with the next one, they have to drop back while you've gone further ahead, and again they've lost a minute. They've lost a third of a lap. And that's sort of what happened here, is that the 92 car managed to leap onto an earlier safety car and therefore made a big gap.
It's what I say about cricket. Throughout a season, sometimes you are out, but you don't get caught by the umpire, and sometimes you aren't out, but you got to walk. Over a season, over a race, it might level out.
It might, but it's, you know, it's given them the initiative to get a 2-minute gap, and that is not an easy one to level out. You know, you're so reliant on other safety car things coming, and in the end, it actually doesn't work out, because if you're already 2 minutes ahead, you're automatically going to latch on to the earlier safety car.
Okay,
so every time a safety car happens, you've again pulled, and if anything, you might end up with 2 safety cars between you, in which case you gain 2/3 of a lap.
Just quickly, Julian, Duncan is down in the pits. He's outside the Ford GT garage.
Yeah, driver number 66, Billy Johnson down here. First of all, that was a bit of a disaster. What happened? Something broke in the back of the car. Can you give us, from your view, what actually caused it to break, though?
Well, entering the first part of the Ford chicane, I got doored by a P2 and sent me straight off through the dirt and the big jumps through there. And it was the side that he hit me on that broke, so I'm not sure if it was if it breaking was from the impact or from going through the dirt afterwards. But it was a pretty hard hit, and it wasn't necessary this early in the race.
Then you've got to do the whole lap with the car crabbing. You come back in though, and the team really rally around you, and the team getting the car fixed very quickly.
This team's awesome. we were leading the championship coming in here. These guys deserve a great result, and unfortunately, just luck didn't go our way, and we're down, I think, a couple laps, but they never quit. They got us back out there. We're turning laps, trying to salvage as many points as we can, and hopefully still be in a decent position after this race in the championship.
It's early days. Thank you very much, mate.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's just saying there that it was a bit unnecessary this early in the race. To be totally honest with you, I think it's a bit unnecessary any time of the race, someone shoving you out the way. What I was just going to point out before we went down there is this a proper full-on Japanese fight. Kobayashi versus Nakajima, slipstreaming each other. Maybe it's not a full fight, but it's great to watch. The two Japanese drivers out there in their Japanese car.
Yes, I'm sure they'll be careful. Is Peter Dumbrecken back?
Yeah, I'm going to say Peter's come back.
I'm not Carew anymore. No, I've changed my accent. Yeah, it's great to see them together. I'm sure they're being careful with each other. But, you know, funny things happen. I've seen it before where the front one gets tangled with something and then the one just behind also gets tangled. So they've got to be a little bit careful with that. Yeah, he is pushing. You see the rear end of that Toyota in front just getting a bit loose into Mulsanne corner.
It's a lovely time of the day for the photographers. Maybe not for the drivers, but for the photographers.
It is real difficult because, well, it used to be that a lot of the cars were open cockpit, of course, so you had to choose a visor, and that visor, this, you know, leading up to this, oh, that was very close.
That was very close. We were looking at the front Toyota. Here it is on board.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. They're not hanging around. They're taking
fair risks, aren't they?
They're taking risks that perhaps they don't need to take. Yeah, I was just saying about the visors. It used to be that you used to have to choose a visor, so you need a tinted one for the sun, and then the sun goes down and you need a clear one, or you've got this hanging sun in the low sun, and it's yeah, it's a difficult time. But nowadays they'll just have a tinted one in that will cover the sun, and then they'll just lift their visor totally when it gets darker.
John Eggenberg now just warming himself up. His car with Rushanov in is out front still in LMP2, and the 8 car slotting down into the pit lane. Nakajima is on pit road.
You know, I was just thinking about how you know, we heard leading into this, and it might be just hearsay about what they're going to do with the Toyota, and it has to be the Alonso car that wins, and blah blah blah. But you know what? They look like they're having a good old scrap at the moment, and it looks like there's no team orders, and yeah, it's good to see, and I'm glad they're doing it. That it's free. It's anyone's race.
The problem is Toyota is aware of anyone else that you can't put all your eggs in one basket and wait for it to happen, because look what happened 2 years ago with the final lap. They had it snatched away, yeah. And then last year with the Porsche that was completely down and out, and its teammates were leading by miles, and suddenly the leader retired, and the car that had been repaired had to come back and win it. So you can't prejudge your strategy.
That is Martin Haven and not Toby Moody, who has joined us as well. We had a double swap over there.
Yeah. Yeah, driver change, double driver change, yeah. And new set of rubber on the car.
Meanwhile, Kazuki Nakajima stays in, having taken over the car 2 stints ago. So this is now, I think, into his triple. And at this stage, they're looking to triple stint and maybe even quad stint the tyres as well, not just in LMP1, but in LMP2 as well. Minimum you can do is a double stint, and that's very much the case for GTE Pro as well. Which of the Pro BMWs is that in the pit lane?
It's the 82 car.
Yeah, so Antonio Felix da Costa is out, and I think that means...
Oh, it's going on the dollies.
Alexander Sims is in. Now, they have a little bit more work to do. Romain Dumas and the 94 Porsche, which are right behind them. They're 10 and 11 in the GTE Pro. That's in the pit lane as well. But we're on board with 67, the Ford that had that drive-through penalty for going too soon on the release of the safety car. And Andy Prio is chasing down Tony Vielander for 8th in GTE Pro. Little update, by the way, for Algarve Pro fans. Their LMP2 car is dropping down the order fast. They were up in the top 6 early on, They stopped for a routine stop. Mark Patterson was ready to get into the car. In fact, he was in the car, but the previous driver reported that they had a little bit of a high temperature and the oil pressure seemed to be sagging a bit, so they had a quick check over. They found that the oil pump had failed, so he didn't go back out. They've got a 30-minute job on their hands, but their task is to try and finish the race, so they will complete that joyfully and send the car back out on its way.
So this is, there is a Ford in between that Ginetta, then there's a Ginetta, then there's a Ford, Ferrari and a Ford. So three of them battling it out here. That is 6th, 7th and 8th. No, 7th, 8th and 9th in the category.
Yeah, the Ford coming towards us is Ryan Briscoe. There's Tony Vielander in the remaining untroubled AF Corsa Ferrari, 51 and 71 both with problems, and behind 67, the car that everybody bar Harry Tinknell crashed in qualifying, because Andy Priaulx had at least one high-speed off, and so did Tony Kanaan. Harry Tinknell was unfortunate enough to have it, the suspension break on him in the race at Spa, so each of the three drivers has now had an off in it in the first race and a bit of the season. We're a quarter distance in, by the way. That was 18 hours to go, so a quarter distance achieved. And Toyota 1-2, the lead gap is 1 minute. SMP Racing in third, 2 laps back with 101 laps completed to the leader's 104, but Kazuki Nakajima has left the pits. Kamui Kobayashi took over in the number 7 car as the leader, and he is now in the pits. 93 Porsche is in second place. This is Patrick Pilet. This is one of their IMSA team cars. And the race leader is Michael Christensen in the number 92 car, one of their World Endurance regulars. Again with Andy Priaulx, 3-time World Touring Car champion, is used to hitting the curbs. Got to avoid that final one though, Peter. That big red strip inside is a nice high block of concrete.
Yeah, apart from anything else, it'll just throw you off the road to the left, and you'll end up with 2 wheels at least in the gravel. So yeah, that's the one they're trying to avoid.
There's the Toyota exiting the pit lane. That is Kaz Nakajima. Kamui Kobayashi rather. Nakajima came out last lap, so Kobayashi comes in the middle of the battle, and then whoosh! That's the hybrid power blasting him down the hill.
Both Toyotas are together again after their stops.
And in fact, they are splitting up this battle a little bit, aren't they?
Yeah, they just slotted in between each of them, didn't they, as they come out on their relevant laps and things.
Yeah. Oh, the Ford had to stay out a little wider than he would have liked there as the Toyota came through on the inside of Tertre Rouge.
This Ford's got a nice run on this, the 67 car.
So Finland versus Guernsey, and they stopped on the same lap. Andy Priaulx with a run down the outside. You're absolutely right. That was that exit onto Tertre Rouge, and that's where he dropped a wheel off in qualifying and had a big shunt. This time was much cleaner. So
that's the line I was talking about before with Alan. How it used to be that you wouldn't straddle that curve, but they've flattened it and they've put tarmac wider. And we saw Patrick Pilet early in the weekend battering off that wall.
Yeah.
He ripped the front of his car off, just pushing it a bit too hard and using it a bit too much. So it's clearly the line has changed in the years. And I've only just noticed it this year, so maybe it's a new thing for this year, but for sure in the past when I've driven around here, I haven't used it. But when I was driving earlier today, I remembered what these guys were doing. I thought, well, yeah, I'll do that as well then. So there's time to be gained.
Roger that. Thank you very much, Duncan. So the 87 car in the pit lane, slow 94 Porsche. So 94 Porsche. This is the car that is in 10th place. Roman Dumas only just left the pits.
Yeah, left rear.
Is it a puncture or is it a loose wheel?
Ooh.
Well, either way, it's not flat on the left rear, is it? But it may not be fully seated on the drive pins. Yeah. Well, that's a classic outlet lap, isn't it? What were his sector times? 8-7 seconds off the pace in sector 2. So maybe it has, and the high loading of the run out from Mulsanne corner started to unseat itself, and he's coming back into the pits because You don't want to be doing a dozen laps with a wheel that steers itself. You saw how bad that was.
It's a rear right. You can see it moving.
Yeah. Yes.
Well,
we saw
that suspension.
It's a suspension.
Yeah.
That's suspension. That's not the wheel.
We saw the self-steering on Billy Johnson's car, didn't we? Down in the pit lane, Duncan Vincent has caught up with BMW's Antonio Felix da Costa.
Yeah, Antonio, first of all, you've come in near the face. Is it all? What's happened?
It looks like a front left damper failure. Never had this before in all the testing that we've done, so it's just, yeah, it's lost for words really. We were doing well. I felt good with the car. These guys just changed the front left damper in like 2 minutes, so yeah, we're on the back foot now, but it's a shame.
But you have the pace. You have great pace, and there's a long way to go.
Yeah, but you have to survive in Le Mans. You know, you have to be there at the end, and let's see. It's not all lost. We're a lap down now, it looks like, but still a long, long way to go.
Thank you very much. Martin.
Thanks, Duncan. He is absolutely right. You know, Le Mans chooses you or it doesn't, and it looks as though, for the moment, the 82 car is not the choice. Alexander Sims has taken over from Antonio, and as he said, you know, 2 minutes to change your damper. You don't get faster than that, but 2 minutes is half a lap that they could ill afford to lose. They've now gone off the lead lap.
3 cars here in GT Pro within 3 seconds. The SMP just whizzing past, though, at our 3rd place car, because,
yeah, that's the BMW Martin Tomczyk, the 81 car, in 3rd. Right behind it, the 91 Porsche of Jimmy Bruni. That's still not a comfortable thing to say, the Porsche of Jimmy Bruni, or Jimmy Bruni for Porsche. Yeah, after years of being a Ferrari hot shoe. He raced last year in IMSA with Porsche. The deal was he wasn't to race in the World Endurance Championship against his old team for 12 months. Gardening leave, if you like. 94 car. Whoa!
Oh, that's where it broke.
Down into Mulsanne corner. That was the wake-up call for Romain Dumas.
well held. Well held.
Yes.
Hey, GT3 rally car as well, a rally driver, so he's used to a bit of a loose rear end occasionally.
That would have woken him up, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it didn't look like there was any warning that was...
Yeah, it just let go, didn't it? And it's not like he clattered a curb or anything either, so...
Well, you know, not,
maybe earlier on
there.
in the lab, yeah.
Exactly,
well,
exactly.
Or it could be the last 6 hours of clattering curbs.
Exactly. You know, just a wheel rub on the opening lap might be enough in the end to fatally floor something, but he's got it back to the pits. They slip down the order, as has the 82 car, as has the 66 Ford. And so those now dropping down the teams. And because they haven't hit anything or broken anything yet, the Aston Martins are now on the fringes of the top 10. Marco Sorensen 11th, Maxime Martin 12th in 95 and 97. The pink pig goes back out. That's Michael Christensen. He makes his 7th stop of the race. Now, this is the first pro-class car to make a 7th scheduled stop. There are a couple have made 7 and 8, but that's for dramas and drive-throughs. And here's the battle with the BMW, which is in 3rd. Jimmy Bruni right behind in the blue and white Porsche in 4th position. Well, one thing that the BMW has got, it seems, is good race pace. They may not have that step forward that you need to really qualify strongly here, but qualifying pace doesn't win you the race, does it? It might get you in Friday's newspaper headlines.
Yeah. Have a look, and this is again, I often refer back to Nürburgring because that's what I know. It's where I race now, and I drive a BMW against Porsches, and the BMW is the most stable car on the racetrack. And you can see through the Porsche curves there how stable it was, and it was actually pulling away from the Porsche. But the low down grunt and the acceleration and the traction of the Porsche is a little bit superior, and that's where that in the slower corners, that's where the Porsche is going to gain over the BMW, because it's such a large car.
Into the pits, our LMP2 leader Roman Rusinov. The Russian has done a triple stint at least in that car. Maximum driver time in any one period is 4 hours. Minimum he'll need to do is 6. I think he's due to get out of the car. In comes the second place car from our GTE Pro Battle, or what was the second place car, what was in fact the fourth place car, wasn't it? And so he slips down as he comes into a halt. Also in the pits behind him, Ryan Briscoe and Andy Prio, the 69 and 67 Fords. James Collado has just left in the delayed 51 Ferrari. And Tony Vilander also came in the 52. Look how flexible and flimsy that windscreen looks. It's not thin and weedy. It is, you know, full bulletproof Lexan spec, but it is very lightweight. And so when you polish it, it flexes. When you go down the Mulsanne straight, it will, instead of being bowed, at one certain speed, pop flat because the air pressure over the front of it. Well, there is the G-Drive car number 30, and that car is some way down the order, right behind which of the 4 Jackie Chan DC racing cars was that. So G-Drive number 40 rather, that's Gutierrez just behind. Not sure which Jackie Chan car that was. That might have been the Malaysian car that's been lapped.
Just got a shot there of these is our leading categories. We went through the AM category, which is 77, then the 92, and now the 26 G-Drive car, and then our race leader, the number 7 Toyota. Slow-mos of our leading category cars.
6 3/4 hours of the 24 Hours of Le Mans already completed. Kamui Kobayashi leads for Toyota 1-2 in LMP1. Jean-Eric Vergne leads in the G-Drive car ahead of IDEC Sport and Panis Barthez. Michael Christensen leads a Porsche 1-2-3 at the moment in GTE Pro. And Christian Ried in another Porsche. He leads from JMW's Ferrari and Project One's Porsche in the GTE AM class. So the qualifying positions all jumbled around in almost every class apart from LMP1, where the hybrids have a pace advantage over the other LMP1 cars. Back up into 4th place after serving a drive-through penalty, Paul Dalla in the 98 Aston Martin. And that is the previous iteration of the Aston Martin compared to the brand new Vantage being raced in the in the GT Pro class. And Dalla last year's world champion with Matthias Lauda and Pedro Lamy, came up short, didn't end up on the top step of the podium, but they are having again a bit of a recovery race. There's Roman Rusinov, not so fresh out of the car. And by the way, after his quick chat in the pits, Hunky Dunky sent me a little text saying, with a face like thunder, Antonio Felix da Costa did not want to talk. So well done to Dunk for getting him to do so. And he was very disappointed. BMW's now, lead BMW is in 6th place, having just stopped. And that was the 81 car we saw Martin Tomczyk. Whereas the Portuguese-speaking car with Alex Sims, Antonio Felix da Costa and Augusto Farfus, not that Sims speaks Portuguese, they were in the top 3. Lead battle on board with Kazuki Nakajima, and right in front is Kamui Kobayashi, and that's right in front. That's the gap, 1st to 2nd. Now, every time the positions have shuffled around, with the number 7 coming back out in front of the number 8 through the pit stops, those positions have been changed again, with the number 8 going back in front. And I wonder whether that is about to happen once more. Last time round, the chasing car of Nakajima was in fact 0.7 of a second slower than Kobayashi. However, he closed, in fact he hasn't closed at all, so they must have been almost nose to tail at the line. Nakajima lost 2/10 to Kobayashi in the first sector, and Kobayashi here pulled back 2/10 in the second sector.
Keeps looking at his rear view camera there, I think. He's like, where is that boy? Where is he?
No kidding, no kidding. He doesn't want to get caught by surprise, does he?
It just looks all kind of like relaxed. What's going on here?
Oh, this is a little bit of close contact in traffic and a little too close for the Ford. Now, who's got the green on? Is that 69?
That's 66.
66. So
He's down in 14th place at the minute.
Stefan Mucker with an LMP2 car going past him, and Mucker going, come on, come on, come on, come on. I have to turn in now or I'm going to have a big crash.
There's some dust. Someone's just been across the gravel or the runoff area there.
Probably just a bit of ditch hooking.
Or was it a continuation of the moment the 66 car had?
No, I think it was the P car that went by him, probably just ditch hooked a little on the inside and left that bit of dust in the air.
Well, there's a yellow flag out somewhere.
There is a yellow flag at Marshall's post.
That's what it is.
It's the 98 Aston Martin, just as I was talking him up. And that is turning into the Porsche curves.
So that's what the dust was?
Yes, that's exactly where we were looking, yeah. Because the Ford was touched back at Tête Rouge, so it was nothing to do with the Ford.
He's gone a long way off, straight through the gravel trap, and hit the barriers hard, because it's done a lot of damage to the front of the car.
And straight, not spinning either.
Yeah. No, not sliding. That looks like a jammed throttle stroke brake failure. The car was not slowing down in a hurry. And there's Matthias Lauda. He was already ready to get into the car. So it was Dalla Lana on an in-lap then. '98 Aston is in the barriers. The wheels look to be relatively well attached still, even though the mirror and the bonnet don't. Maxime Martin wouldn't be getting into the amateur car. So there's Pedro Lamy, he's helmeted up.
He would be getting into that car, wouldn't he?
No, Maxime Martin is getting ready to take over from Marco Sorensen. Johnny Adams just taken over the 97 Aston. Sorry, you're right, the red and white.
Pedro was ready to get in this car.
Yeah.
So that was his in-lap, in-lap or
one before in.
Yeah.
Exactly, yellow flags out at the entrance to the Porsche curves. Well, let's hear from Maxime Martin. He's just got out of his Aston Martin. He's with Duncan Vincent.
Yeah, Maxime, you've just stepped out of the car. You've just handed it over to Johnny. He's on his way. How was your stint there in that tricky low sun?
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, the speed is definitely not there. We have no speed in the car, which is a serious shame, but it's like it is. So we have just to try to continue, no mistakes. Just keep there and see where we can finish.
When you say speed, are you talking straight line speed or overall speed?
Yeah, it's a bit related, you know. Both are quite related. Definitely the general speed is quite bad, but also the straight line speed. So both combined, it's difficult. But like I say, we just continue, we try, and we see where we can go.
Thank you very much, buddy.
Thank you, Duncan. And Duncan, while you're down there, maybe have a word in 98 and see if there was any message on the radio from Paul Dalla Lana. They're trying to lift and grab him. If the engine starts, it's got all its wheels attached. It might be back in the pit lane relatively soon. Now, the man in the helmet, it was the red and white flag, but it wasn't an Austrian flag. It wasn't Maxime Martin in the helmet because he's got Belgian colours.
It's a Danish flag, was it?
It was a Danish flag because Marco Sorensen has not yet handed over the 95 Aston. Johnny Adams taken over the 97. I think this will be the in-lap for Marco Sorensen, and the man in the helmet was Nicodemus, winner of the British GT race at Silverstone last Sunday with Mark Farmer for TF Sport. And the TF Sport Aston Martin, to round that sentence off nicely, 10th place, the number 90 car with Sally Jolic at the wheel in the GTE AM class. Now, they've been released from the speed limiter there. Who was going slowly and wasn't back up to speed? There's the Dragon Speed number 10 LMP1 car ahead of the two Toyotas.
But yeah, that's surely someone limping home.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they've got it all wrong.